Hey everybody, it's Charlie. Awesome news. Recently, Kevin Feige was doing press for the Captain Marvel movie. People were asking him about Marvel Phase 4 because we have all this X-Men and Fantastic Four stuff that are coming into the universe. We already have an idea what the next 2 to 3 years are for sure, and then he says that they have officially planned up to the next 6 years, so I'll break it all down. There's a new round of that IMAX ticket giveaway too. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a comment about Phase 4 on the video. So I'll do this top 10 style, starting with number 10. Kevin Feige said that they're waiting till after Avengers Endgame to do their next big phase reveal panel. Remember a couple years ago when Kevin Feige and Marvel did the special Phase 3 panel at the El Capitan where they brought a couple journalists in, did their own version of a Hall H panel, and announced everything that was happening between 2016 and 2019. Movies they were doing, that's when they announced Benedict Cumberbatch was going to be their version of Doctor Strange. It was wonderful.
There may be Easter eggs starting before you know it. Will those Easter eggs include the Fantastic Four? No. They will be introduced into the cinematic universe as it exists at Marvel Studios.
He did not say whether or not they're going to do that this time or they're just going to wait till their Comic-Con panel after Dark Phoenix comes out, because X-Men will be a big part of what happens during Phase 4 and Phase 5. Number 9, though, all those plans that he talks about the next 6 years include more than just the movies, even though that's what we're mostly focused on. They also include all the core Marvel Cinematic Universe Avengers TV series for the Disney Plus streaming service, The Loki Show, Scarlet Witch and Vision, the Winter Soldier Falcon team-up show, and we've already found out that they're going to be developing X-Men-based TV shows, which is no surprise. There's a billion characters. Even if they do 3 movies per year for the next 6 years, that's only 18 movies, there's no way they're going to get to everything with all the sequels that they already have planned, because we do have a pretty good idea for what the schedule is going to look like. So the logical next step is just to do a really awesome mini-series for your really big characters that you just don't have time for in the movies. The really cool thing about the TV series too is that they also help fill gaps in programming, especially if they have to swerve on a movie like Guardians of the Galaxy 3. It was going to be released next summer. Now Marvel, because they took it off their schedule, has no movie coming out next summer, and there's only 2 movies, whereas Kevin Feige's like, we're definitely doing 3 movies per year. So there's this giant gap, but they have all these new special Marvel Studios limited series they're making with the movie actors that'll help fill that gap, so it's not as big a deal as it would have been before. But number 8, the roadmap that Kevin Feige said that he has is demarcated by the next Avengers movies. No surprise there. The Avengers movies are sort of like your big signposts in the roadmap that is the MCU. Every year you do the cooler, smaller solo movies, but then every couple of years you have your big universe-shattering Avengers movies where the status quo of the MCU is shaken going forward. But here's the thing, because they just did Avengers movies back to back, we might not get that next Avengers movie, Avengers 5, for 3 more years if they don't want to do it every other year. Then you had Captain America Civil War, which fell in between Age of Ultron and Infinity War, and that was sort of Avengers 2.5. So even if they start spacing out their really big Avengers movies more, there'll still be Avengers crossovers every other year. So there'll still be a lot of really, really big stuff going on outside of the little solo movies. 7, officially, right now, Spider-Man Far From Home is the first Marvel Phase 4 movie, so it's like the first movie set in the new status quo of the MCU post-Avengers Endgame. Remember, we're expecting a lot of big changes, there's still a lot of theories about that, so it's still wide open to speculation. The biggest of those changes just incorporating characters that have biologically based powers, a la X-Men. The Spider-Man movies are a perfect example of this difference. So before he came into the MCU, Spider-Man villains, the characters, were largely biology based. There were a couple of technology based characters, but the big difference when they brought him into the MCU is that because so much of their movie universe is driven by the vision of that first Iron Man film, you start to see more Spider-Man villains that are cut from that same cloth. The look and the visual design is much more inspired by the Iron Man movies. So just picture mutants in the MCU. That's probably the easiest way to think about it. But number 6, we already know what a good number of the other movies are going to be the next 2 to 3 years for sure because of the announcements that they've already made the last year, but the early versions of the lists here and the schedules don't include MCU Fantastic Four or X-Men films because Marvel technically isn't allowed to start planning yet. Bob Iger even said that their lawyer at Disney won't let him talk about doing X-Men films until the ink is dry, which right now is going to be early this summer. So even though Kevin Feige can come up with ideas, he's not allowed to talk to anyone about them yet. But number 5, Black Widow, which we know about, will not be rated R. Kevin Feige confirmed that they never planned on making it R-rated. There were a lot of news articles. People are like, will this be the first hardcore MCU film? The problem being, I think that there are a lot of younger kids that like the Black Widow character. You make it rated R, you automatically cut Disney off from that large family audience. And during a recent earnings call, Bob Iger also addressed this issue where he's like, it's not in Disney's nature to release R-rated films. That's what Fox is going to be for. So they're still going to keep a certain portion of Fox intact for releasing those hardcore movies, particularly the Deadpool movies. Because while Kevin Feige will be officially managing all the characters, like he'll be the one to greenlight new Marvel movies, when they have a rated R film like Deadpool 3, Disney themselves will not slap their name on it. Number 4, you guys will be really happy about this. He did confirm that Nova was really high on their list of other cosmic characters that are going to get their own solo films. I know we're all wondering about Silver Surfer, but they own Nova, no problem. They could do a Nova movie tomorrow if they wanted to. But number 3, he also doubled down on Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel. They said it's high on their list, and the current plan is to debut her during Captain Marvel 2, which they did confirm at the press conference will be set in present day. Because they said the whole reason for not including Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel in the first Captain Marvel movie is because that's a period piece set during the 90s, and their version of Kamala Khan felt like a contemporary story set in present day. So in talking about their desire to do Kamala Khan in the sequel, they sort of confirmed a couple of things like, yep, definitely going to be set in present day during the sequel. We're definitely planning on there being a sequel, and we're going to debut Miss Marvel during that. So if you're a big fan of that character, or you just want to see a version of Miss Marvel on screen, it sounds like it's going to happen in the next 2 to 3 years. But number 2, here is the official tentative schedule for the next 3 years or so. So this is actually pretty set unless there's some giant catastrophe and they have to shuffle some movies around. So next year is going to be Black Widow in the Eternals movie in that order. Then during 2021, it's Black Panther 2 in February. They'll probably do another Black History Month release. Doctor Strange 2, and then Spider-Man 3, whatever that's going to be called. Spider-Man Coming Home. Something riffing on the title Home, because Spider-Man Homecoming, Spider-Man Far From Home. So whatever your theories are about Spider-Man, just make sure you include home in the title of that third film. And then maybe if they want to do Avengers films every 2 years, you also have Avengers 5 that year. Because technically Kevin Feige said that they're doing 3 movies a year, but Spider-Man 3 is a Sony film. Sony releases those, so technically it's not on that 3 movies a year Disney list that he's talking about. But then the year after that, it would be Guardians of the Galaxy 3. They're still planning on using James Gunn's script, so there'll probably be a little while before they announce what they're going to do with that and when they're going to start production. Then Captain Marvel 2, just assuming that there's going to be a sequel, maybe a Fantastic Four film. I have a feeling that they'll probably be one of the first films that they do when they get those characters. But remember, this is 2022, so it's a couple years away, meaning that they wouldn't even start developing it till later this year. So beyond that, there's a lot of speculation, like Nova, Eternals 2. Remember, there's going to be sequels to a lot of the new movies that they debut. At some point, they're going to do another Ant-Man and the Wasp film set in the quantum realm. Then you have all the potential X-Men films that they'll do. Those will have to fit somewhere in the schedule. You have the Deadpool sequels that'll be in there. So just remember that Kevin Feige said 3 movies per year, but there might be a little wiggle room on that where they use Fox to release some of those. So between the 2 studios, it might wind up being like 4 films per year. But the biggest thing on everyone's mind, number 1, Kevin Feige revealed last year that it would still be a good long while before we see X-Men versus Avengers teaming up in a really, really big Avengers film. That means it probably won't be Avengers 5. There'll be X-Men characters showing up in and around Marvel movies in the MCU. There'll be X-Men films separately from that, and it won't take quite as long as it took them to get that first Avengers movie together. It took 4 years between the first Iron Man and the Avengers before they all came together. So that's why tentatively I would assume that Avengers 6 will be like the first really big film where you see a ton of Avengers and a ton of X-Men together on screen. But like I said, Avengers Endgame comes out at the end of April, then you have Spider-Man Far From Home at the beginning of July. The X-Men Disney deal will be done by then. Because Far From Home is dropping so close to Comic-Con, pretty likely that they'll just wait till their Hall H panel before giving us a big schedule and then saying this is what we're doing with all those X-Men characters in Fantastic Four. Post all your Marvel Phase 4 X-Men theories in the comments below. What'll happen is there's supposed to be a new Dark Phoenix trailer really soon. There's supposed to be a new Shazam, Game of Thrones Season 8 trailer. When that stuff drops, I will totally make videos for it, no worries. While you wait for everything, click here for my brand new Spider-Man Far From Home trailer video, and click here to learn all about Godspeed coming to The Flash during Season 5. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.